It was just another Tuesday evening, or at least I thought it was going to be. I had my usual routine set, a long day of work, then a few hours at the gym to clear my head. The gym had always been my escape, a place where I could zone out and focus on nothing but the next rep. But today, man, today changed everything. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. I'm Tyler, 28 years old, and I've been living in this city my whole life. It's not a fancy city, but it's home. You know the type. The kind where the gym feels like the only place you can just be. So there I was, doing my usual thing, stretching out in the corner. A couple of other regulars were around, but nothing out of the ordinary. That's when I saw them. 3 cops. They walked in, heads down, all business. They looked like they were on a mission, but I didn't think much of it. Cops were everywhere these days. Now, I'm not the type to start drama, but it felt off the second they laid eyes on me. One of them, a big guy, the type you'd expect to be in charge, started heading straight for me. No greeting, no nothing. Just zeroed in on me like I was a problem. He was followed by his partners, who looked just as tense. "Hey," he barked, stopping in front of me like I'd done something wrong. "What are you doing here?" I looked up, confused. "What do you mean, man?" "Just stretching before my workout." "That's not what I'm talking about. You know the rules. You're not supposed to be here after hours," he said, looking me up and down like I was the last person who should be in this gym. "Bro, I've been coming here for years. Nothing's changed." I wasn't in the mood for this. I wasn't in the mood for them, period. I've dealt with my fair share of cops growing up, and I could feel that tension in the air, the kind that told me this wasn't a simple misunderstanding. It was something else. One of the other officers stepped forward, and just like that, I was surrounded. They were closing in on me, taking up all the space, like they were ready to haul me off for no reason. "Listen, man," I said, my voice a little sharper now. "I don't know what this is about, but I'm not doing anything wrong. Just let me finish my workout." But this guy wasn't hearing any of it. He grabbed my arm, jerking me up like I was a kid about to get scolded. "I don't think you understand," he said. "We're taking you in. You're a disturbance. It's over." Now, I don't know about you, but when someone touches me like that, something snaps inside. I don't take well to being pushed around, and this was no different. I shook him off and took a step back. "You better back off, man," I warned. My hands raised in that calm way you do when you're trying not to escalate things but still want to make sure they know you're not someone they can mess with. "Shut the hell up," one of the other cops said, and before I could process it, they were on me, pulling my arms behind my back, forcing me into a set of handcuffs. And there I was, getting dragged out of the gym, surrounded by 3 cops in front of a bunch of people who didn't even bother to step in. Everyone stood there watching, like it was just another Tuesday. I couldn't believe it. This wasn't just a cop being a cop. This wasn't some mistake. They were treating me like I was some kind of criminal, just because of the way I looked, the color of my skin, and maybe a couple of assumptions they'd made about me. "Let's go," the first cop said, his grip tightening on my wrist, as if to say, "We got you now." But here's the thing. I wasn't going down without a fight. I was confused, angry, and humiliated, but I wasn't going to let them think they could just do whatever the hell they wanted. Something in me snapped. I wasn't going to be the guy who let this slide. I didn't know how far this was going to go, but as I was shoved into the back of the squad car, one thing was clear. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was bigger than a simple misunderstanding. This was about everything, about the system that treated people like me as less than, and I was going to make them understand that they couldn't just get away with it. As the car pulled away, I thought about what was coming next. I could feel the anger boiling up, and I knew I had to do something about it. This wasn't just about me being dragged out of the gym. This was a fight for respect, for dignity, for justice. I wasn't going to be quiet, and I wasn't going to let them forget what they did. And no matter where this story went, I knew one thing for sure. They were about to find out who the hell I really was. So there I was, sitting in that cold-ass courtroom, trying to hold it together. I was being charged with some bogus crap, all because 3 cops decided to have a bad day and picked me as their target. The thing is, I knew this wasn't just about me. This was bigger than some messed up arrest. This was about a system that always seems to find ways to step on people like me. You know, people who look like they don't belong. And trust me, I wasn't going to let them get away with it. I'm sitting there, looking around, and the whole place smells like old wood, stale coffee, and a whole lot of bad decisions. The prosecutor, a slick-looking guy, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my rent, stands up and starts running his mouth. Your Honor, the defendant was acting out of control, threatening officers, and trying to incite a disturbance, he says, all serious, like he's got this all figured out. I just sat back in my chair, trying to keep my cool. Yeah, I was pissed off, but I wasn't about to let this clown see me sweat. The thing about these people is that they always try to paint the picture that you're some kind of monster, even if you're just minding your own business. I mean, what the hell did they expect from me? I was just a guy at the gym trying to work out and clear my head. But nope. Apparently I was a dangerous threat because I'm a black man in America. No wonder the whole thing felt like it was rigged from the start. But I wasn't just going to sit there and take it. That's when I stood up. I had had enough of being treated like a second-class citizen. So I pushed my chair back, stood tall, and addressed the judge, calm, but with that edge in my voice that was impossible to ignore. Your Honor, this whole thing is a joke. I didn't threaten anyone, and I sure as hell wasn't the one starting trouble. Those officers decided they wanted to flex their power, and I was just unlucky enough to be the target. The prosecutor looked at me like I just slapped him in the face. His mouth dropped open, and I could see his brain working overtime, trying to come up with something to shut me down. But I wasn't done yet. Hell no. I wasn't just going to stand there and let him paint me as some thug. I slid my hand into my jacket pocket and pulled out my ID. You want to know who I really am? I said, turning to the judge, showing him the badge. I'm Tyler Johnson. Sergeant Tyler Johnson. I'm in the National Guard. You know, the guys who protect this country, who are out there risking their lives for people who take their freedoms for granted. I could see the shift in the room. The judge's eyebrows shot up, and I swear, even the prosecutor's face went pale for a second. That's right, I wasn't some random guy they could push around. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I was a soldier. I was trained to stand my ground and fight when things weren't right. And trust me, this wasn't right, not by a long shot. The prosecutor opened his mouth to object, but I wasn't giving him the satisfaction of cutting me off. I wasn't going to let this go. Look, I've been a part of this country's defense, but I sure as hell never thought I'd be defending myself from a bunch of cops who couldn't be bothered to get the facts straight. You want to talk about disturbance? How about the disturbance of a whole damn system that targets people who don't fit their idea of what's acceptable? How about that? The room was dead silent. It was like a damn movie scene. I was laying it all out there, and there was nothing they could do about it. The prosecutor shifted uncomfortably, not expecting me to come at him like this. The cops who had arrested me? They were sitting there, looking like they wanted to crawl into a hole. They knew I had them. They knew I wasn't just some guy who was going to roll over. Yeah, that's right, I said, my voice getting stronger. I'm a proud member of the National Guard, and if you think for 1 second that I'm going to let you make a mockery of me, you've got another thing coming. Because I've got the training, the discipline, and the courage to take this to the very end. No matter who's standing in my way. I could feel the tension in the air, thick enough to cut with a knife. And you know what? I didn't care. I wasn't about to be silenced anymore. They were going to know my name, and they were going to know the truth. The judge, a guy who looked like he'd seen more than his fair share of cases, glanced at the prosecutor before speaking. We'll take a recess, he said, his voice a little more strained than usual. It was clear this was not going the way anyone had expected. And as I sat back down, the realization hit me. This was my moment. I was standing up, not just for myself, but for every person who's ever been unfairly treated, who's ever had to face a system that didn't care about them. This wasn't just a fight for my freedom anymore. It was about dignity. And damn it, I wasn't going to let them take that away from me. The courtroom was dead silent as I stood up, my anger bubbling just under the surface. The judge had come back, but I wasn't about to let this pass without making my voice heard. Your Honor, I began, calmly but with fire in my voice. You've heard their side, but now you need to hear mine. I pointed straight at the officer who had grabbed me that night. You treated me like a criminal just because of the color of my skin. You didn't care about the truth, just your own power trip. The prosecutor shifted uneasily in his seat. I wasn't done. You think just because you wear a badge you can do whatever you want. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not how it works. Not anymore. I turned to face the judge. I'm a soldier. I serve this country. And I'm here to fight for justice, not just for me, but for everyone who's been wronged by this system. I could feel the tension building as I laid it all out. This wasn't just about me. It was about a fight for respect, for everyone who's ever been treated like less. The judge paused, then finally spoke. After reviewing the case, the charges against Mr. Johnson are dismissed. I could barely believe it. The room was still and I watched as the cops' faces fell. The prosecutor looked stunned. but I wasn't done yet. "This isn't over," I said, locking eyes with the officers. "You've got a lot to answer for." And just like that, I walked out of that courtroom, knowing I'd won not just the case, but my dignity. It felt damn good to walk away as the victor. Thanks for sticking around and listening to this story. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe to Life Mosaic. We've got new, powerful stories coming out every day. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to share more with you. Stay tuned.